They're big strapping guys, and they got tears rolling down their cheeks. But I understand, how they feel, and that's Cheyenne was their hero, and now they're getting to meet him in person.
In the role of cowboy Cheyenne Body from the series, Cheyenne Clint Walker wasn't just a television star. He became the ultimate symbol of American masculinity in the 1950s and 60s. People adored him not only for his rugged looks, but also for what seemed like a spotless life. Everyone assumed a man like him must have lived in peace. But they were wrong. In a rare interview with People magazine, his only daughter, Valerie Walker, now 75, finally broke a silence that lasted more than half a century. Her voice trembled as she revealed that behind her father's calm face was a series of hidden tragedies. The snow accident of 1971, believed to be random, actually showed signs of being planned. The studio, she claimed, had pressured him to exploit his own image for profit as the perfect American man. And even more shocking, Valerie hinted at the real reason behind his 3 failed marriages. Clint Walker had deep emotional connections with a few well-known colleagues, but could never be open about it due to the harsh prejudice of that era. Today, we'll uncover the secrets Hollywood once tried to bury and search for the answer to the question that has shaken fans around the world. Why did Clint Walker's daughter wait more than 50 years to speak the truth? 1. That accident on Mammoth Mountain wasn't random. Someone truly wanted my father gone. May 1971. Snow-blanketed Mammoth Mountain in Mono County, California. There, Clint Walker, the man who had captivated America in Cheyenne, collapsed in a shocking accident that stopped his heart. More than 50 years later, his daughter Valerie told People, "It wasn't an accident, it was staged." According to the initial report from the Mono County Sheriff's Department on May 12, 1971, Walker went to the Mammoth Mountain Ski Resort with director George Sherman, lighting technician Rick DeLuca, and 2 former Warner Brothers crew members for a weekend trip. But instead of the main slope, they entered a restricted maintenance route closed due to snowslides. Only staff members were allowed there, and Walker had no entry pass. At around 2:20 p.m., the report said he slipped down the slope, fell face first, and was pierced through the chest by a 1.4-meter metal rod. The California Ski Patrol report stated, "This area has no fencing and no fixed steel equipment." Yet somehow, a technical pole appeared exactly where he fell. At Bishop Memorial Hospital, Dr. Gary Sloan declared him deceased at 3:07 p.m. His body was covered with a white sheet and moved into cold storage. But just 10 minutes later, nurse Linda Martinez noticed a faint heartbeat on the monitor, only 10 beats per minute. The medical team immediately began emergency resuscitation, and 4 hours later, a miracle happened. Clint Walker came back to life. The Los Angeles Times ran the headline, "The Mammoth Miracle, Cheyenne Hero Returns from the Dead." But alongside the excitement came troubling questions. A rescue worker told Life magazine, "I've worked here 10 years and never seen a metal stake like that." That morning, the snow was flat, no footprints, no materials. 2 weeks later, the investigation was suspended, and all files were sealed under the statement, "No evidence of foul play." But journalist Lance O'Donnell of Variety managed to publish a shocking article. An actor who just won a lawsuit against Warner Brothers suffers a mysterious accident months later, coincidence or retaliation. The piece was removed from the site within 48 hours without explanation. Suspicion grew stronger when Warner Brothers released a press statement only 24 hours after the accident, declaring Walker out of danger and soon returning to the set. The studio was neither family nor authorized to access medical records, yet it knew details before the hospital itself. Many reporters suspected that Warner representatives were present at Mammoth Mountain that day, and not for skiing. The internal guest list at the ski resort revealed a surprising name: William T. Orr, head of Warner Brothers Television, whom Walker had publicly accused of exploiting actors and taking control of their image rights. According to a former studio employee, Orr and Walker had a fierce argument at Warner's office in late 1970. Clint yelled at him about royalties. The next day, Orr told his assistant, "He'll regret crossing me." Years later, that threat seemed to come true. An internal report cited by the Los Angeles County Record in 1975 revealed that the metal rod bore 2 unidentified fingerprints. Investigative journalist Gina Matthews of the San Francisco Chronicle later confirmed one of the prints partially matched Richard G. Lewis, a Warner production assistant who had accompanied Orr to Mammoth that same winter. Police refused to comment, but the public was convinced someone had set a trap to make Clint Walker pay. In September 1971, Walker appeared on Good Morning America. He looked frail, his voice hoarse, his eyes distant. "I was given another chance at life. Thank God," he said quietly, then fell silent. After the show, a colleague recalled he was warned. After that, he never spoke of the accident again. Everything seemed forgotten until Valerie Walker spoke up. "My father once told me that the accident had inside involvement. Weeks before going to Mammoth, he received an anonymous letter. 'Don't go against Warner again. Be wise.' After he was hospitalized, that letter and several documents disappeared. But as Valerie revealed at the end of her interview, that accident was not the end. It was the beginning of an open confrontation between one lone man and an empire of power." She said slowly, "My father knew why they wanted to harm him. It all began with the Warner Brothers lawsuit, when he dared to do what no one else in Hollywood would: stand up against the very people who made him. And that was the moment Clint Walker became Hollywood's rebel, the first man to challenge Warner Brothers in a battle that wasn't just about contracts, but about his very life." 2. If my father truly had feelings for people of the same gender. So what? He's human, isn't he? In 1958, when America was still unfamiliar with the idea of same-gender love, Hollywood had already begun to whisper. And the name murmured backstage wasn't Rock Hudson or Tab Hunter, it was Clint Walker, the nearly 2-meter-tall man whose striking features made everything around him look unreal. Confidential magazine ran a shock headline, "Does the cowboy Cheyenne have a secret Hollywood won't say?" The article claimed that Walker often appeared with a mysterious, muscular man said to be his private martial arts coach. They were reportedly seen several times at a small cafe in Burbank, then spending weekends together at Big Bear Lake right before Walker took a break from filming Cheyenne. Less than a year later, Movie Mirror published Cheyenne's Hidden Heart, aiming straight at the relationship between Walker and Kenneth Graham, an assistant director at Warner Bros. The piece said the two shared private trips during the filming of Yellowstone Kelly in 1959, and a witness insisted they were almost inseparable from the set to the gym. Graham then left Warner abruptly, and Walker suddenly disappeared from public events for nearly half a year. By the early 1960s, suspicions had spread through the industry. A reporter from the Los Angeles Herald discovered that Walker frequently trained at the Burbank Athletic Club, a place frequented by well-known actors such as Tab Hunter, George Nader, and Rock Hudson, figures often surrounded by rumors about their personal lives. From there, tabloids like Whisper and Hush Hush freely embroidered headlines, "The Western Hero" and "The Secret in the Gym." Veteran journalist Arthur Bell of Village Voice later revealed Warner Brothers paid to tamp down the chatter, but also quietly staged a few public romances to reinforce Walker's masculine image. He was pushed to attend parties with Angie Dickinson, then pose for photos with Barbara Nichols' classic PR companions. But that very arrangement made the public believe there was something being hidden. An editor at TV Guide wrote at the time, Hollywood doesn't believe in perfection. If they can't find a crack, they'll make one. Insiders added fuel to the fire. In his memoir, actor Ed Burns, 77 Sunset Strip wrote, Clint was so private that everyone kept guessing. Some even mentioned an unusually close friendship between Walker and Roger Moore during Gold of the Seven Saints, 1961. The two went hunting together, shared a cabin, and even shot paired promotional photos for Warner Brothers. The talk spread so far that Roger Moore had to go on BBC Radio in 1962 to state plainly, Clint is the best friend I've ever had, and also the most truthful man I know. But the press wouldn't let go. Each time Walker stayed quiet, they treated it as proof. At the premiere of The Dirty Dozen 1967, when a reporter asked him to clarify the rumors about your personal life, he replied briefly, I don't really discuss what's private. People seem to love that topic, but sorry, I only want to talk about my work. That was enough. Variety wrote, the quieter a man is, the more Hollywood believes he's hiding something. According to Valerie Walker, her father was never angry about the rumors, but he was hurt. I remember my father saying, kiddo, they want me to live inside their fantasy, their ideal. But I don't enjoy playing that role. I just hope to be myself, at least in the next life. In a Hollywood that prized noise, where sensational talk became a new badge of success, Clint Walker's silence felt unusual. He didn't drink, didn't party, didn't chase controversy, and to many that in itself seemed suspicious. The industry elite began to turn away. Directors hesitated to hire him, and studio press teams limited his appearances. By the early 1970s, Walker had almost vanished from the cinematic map while the rumors quietly lingered. Perhaps what made Clint Walker most remarkable wasn't identity fame or an impressive physique, but the way he kept his dignity and composure in a Hollywood that seemed to hunger for the opposite. And maybe it was precisely that calm refusal to join the game that made some people uncomfortable. No one in the capital of lights can stand outside the circle forever. And when he fell for the second time in his home in Grass Valley in 2018, many believed the cold wind of 1971 had never truly stopped. 3. They squeezed my father to his last breath, then called his silence ungrateful. In the mid-1950s, America was enamored with the image of the Western hero, tough, upright men who brought justice to untamed lands. Then Cheyenne arrived like a storm. The Warner Brothers television series, aired on ABC starting in 1955, quickly became a national phenomenon. With the role of Cheyenne Body, Clint Walker embodied the public's ideal 6'6". A thunder-deep voice, steady eyes, broad shoulders, the quintessential American hero made real. For 7 consecutive years, Cheyenne ruled prime time, drawing more than 20 million viewers each week. Walker's image covered the country, from posters, t-shirts, and lighters to cowboy hats, and even cigarette packs bearing Cheyenne. Life magazine wrote, "There isn't an American who doesn't know who Cheyenne Body is." According to documents in the Warner Brothers corporate archives, the contract Walker signed in 1954 was an all-rights contract. The studio held full authority to use his image, name, voice, and likeness in all commercial activities without additional payment. It also barred him from participating in any other projects. A side clause read, "The actor shall not sign any outside agreement without written consent from Warner Brothers." In other words, Clint Walker was entirely controlled legally, like property on paper. Behind that hard-edged contract stood two of Hollywood's most powerful figures, Jack Warner, the studio's founder, and William T. Orr, head of television, dubbed by the press the King of Burbank TV. Orr was known for being cool and for wanting total control over his actors. Backstage tension between Walker and Orr only grew. The Hollywood Reporter, June 1957, revealed Orr was angry when Clint refused to participate in a set of lightly suggestive promotional photos arranged for women's magazines. A crew member recalled Clint saw it as an insult. He wanted to be treated as an actor, not a decorative prop. From 1958, as Cheyenne peaked in the ratings, Warner Brothers launched a nationwide Cheyenne Fever campaign. Posters and magazines flooded with images of Walker bathing in a river, riding in the rain, arm wrestling foes scenes never in the original scripts. Directors were instructed to hold the shot longer on the upper body to increase appeal to female viewers. Walker objected, but Orr threatened, "If you won't shoot, we'll find someone who will." His patience turned to anger. Beyond being pushed as a physique-driven icon, Walker was shooting 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, while Warner Brothers drew in tens of millions in profits. Variety estimated that in 1959, broadcast rights and tie-in products alone exceeded $25 million, a huge sum for the time. Yet Walker still earned $175 with no benefits, no share, no voice. According to journalist Robert Kane of the Los Angeles Times, he sent 3 letters to Warner Brothers requesting a renegotiation without any reply. In March 1959, Walker walked straight into William T. Orr's Burbank office, slammed the contract on the desk, and said clearly, "I won't shoot another scene until I'm treated as a person." The next day, Variety ran Cheyenne halted due to internal dispute. Warner Brothers rushed out a statement saying the star was taking a break for health reasons. But everyone knew Clint Walker was challenging the very people who had built his name. Warner's response came like a storm. Walker was suspended. His name was scrubbed from ad campaigns. The makeup room was sealed. The Cheyenne body nameplate taken down. Overnight, America's hero became a rebel. Orr immediately slotted in young actor Ty Hardin, creating the character Bronco Lane to keep the franchise alive. But audiences refused. Within 2 months, Nielsen reported viewership down 42%. Thousands of protest letters flooded the networks. TV Guide blared, "America wants the real Cheyenne, not a substitute." Pressure forced Warner Brothers back to the table. In October 1960, the studio signed a new contract with Walker, $2,500 per week, a cut of profits and script approval, a landmark victory for TV actors of that era. But every victory carries a price. Right after his return, Walker was marked in Hollywood's quiet ledger. Directors hesitated. Other studios feared pressure from Warner. The New York Herald Tribune ran the sardonic headline, "The Cowboy Who Bit the Hand That Fed Him. Though freer, he paid with isolation." Murky whispers about his private life temperament. Even his orientation began to spread, as if someone wanted to distort his image at any cost. In the interview, Valerie Walker recalled, "My father didn't need money, he needed respect." But Hollywood didn't allow that. They feared anyone who dared to say no. From a nationwide icon, Clint Walker became a thorn in the side of the powerful. He won back his freedom, but lost his prime position. And from that moment when he openly stood against the hands pulling strings backstage, Clint Walker's life veered into a darker turn where his fame, image, and even his body were turned into tools for relentless commercialization. 4. Hollywood turned my father into merchandise. They marketed his physique instead of honoring him as a true artist. The Hollywood of the 1950s was the age of image where every light, every smile, even every drop of sweat could be monetized. No one understood this better than Warner Brothers. They knew that Clint Walker's solid frame square shoulders and steely gaze could sell anything from films to cologne, from lighters to cowboy dolls. Internally, he wasn't called an actor, but a profit asset. A 1957 internal memo, reprinted years later by the Los Angeles Times, revealed the chilling level of commercialization hold longer on the upper body. Prioritize river bathing scenes. Wet shirts keep viewers watching. Those lines weren't written for a model, but for a man once hailed as America's masculine ideal. In Cheyenne, the river baths, arm wrestling, bareback rides in blazing heat, or shirt-off sweat wiping weren't in the original scripts. They were ideas from the publicity department to attract the women's market, a relatively new concept then. According to Warner Brothers, Archives producers Roy Huggins and William T. Orr even met to detail how to showcase Clint's looks with subtlety, which in practice meant keep him shirtless just long enough to pass broadcast standards. Walker pushed back. During a 1957 shoot in Burbank, he told director Leslie Salander, "Point blank, I'm an actor, not a walking poster you can use however you like." The line spread across the lot and enraged Warner Brothers. The next day, he received a warning letter. If he continued to refuse artistic direction, his contract could be terminated. From there, pressure tightened. Warner forced him into more crowd-pleasing scenes than ever. In the episode The Outlander, he was told to go shirtless in a glacial river at 45 Dreister, 7 degrees Celsius. In The Iron Trail, he had to arm wrestle 5 supporting actors just to prove Cheyenne's strength. It was no longer art, it was physique marketing. The campaign worked spectacularly. According to 1958 Nielsen data, 60% of Cheyenne's audience was women, a record at the time. Warner Brothers called him a walking goldmine. Photoplay crowned him television's original leading heartthrob. But that glory cut both ways. Faith-based groups like the Christian Family Alliance protested fiercely, sending letters to ABC urging the show's removal. The Chicago Tribune ran a cold headline, "The Cowboy Who Harmed America, Reserved and Private." Walker felt humiliated. On CBS Morning Show in 1959, he said simply, "I don't want to be remembered just for the muscles." The remark infuriated Warner. In their eyes, Walker wasn't an actor anymore. He was a product daring to defy its own brand. According to cinematographer Bob Shelton's memoir, Walker once walked out of a Life magazine photo shoot in 1960 when told to soak yourself to wet the shirt. The incident enraged Warner's PR team. From then on, he was labeled difficult. In film circles, word traveled faster than wind. Clint Walker isn't compliant anymore. Day by day, the studio lights around him dimmed. Warner cut interviews, canceled award show invites, and quietly reduced his television exposure. A director who worked with him on Gold of the Seven Saints recalled Clint still worked hard, but the fire in his eyes was gone. He knew he'd lost his freedom. In the end, the conflict wasn't about contracts. It was about dignity. Clint Walker felt turned into a commodity, defined by chest and biceps rather than craft. He began refusing half-body glamour shots, skipping promotional events, and severing contact with Warner Brothers' press office. As Valerie Walker put it, "My father never resented the audience, not one bit. He hated the feeling of being controlled. Hollywood wanted to own his spirit, not just his image. That quiet resistance slowed his career, but it also made Clint Walker one of the first to push back against early television's body-centric culture. A man who dared to refuse being a hollow emblem. And from there, the fractures in his private life began to appear, because the price of resistance wasn't only a career cost, it reached all the way into family life. 5. Every one of my father's marriages ended because Hollywood made it impossible for him to love anyone. In Hollywood's golden glow, people only saw Clint Walker as an unshakable hero, a symbol of strength and integrity. But when the lights went out, his private life was a chain of broken relationships, mysteries, and persistent rumors. 3 marriages, seemingly 3 chapters of love, were in fact 3 tragedies covered by silence and unanswered questions. His first wife, Verna Garver, was his young love from Alton, Illinois. They met in 1947 when Walker was just 20, working night security at the Golden Nugget Hotel. Verna, then a hairdresser, once said in a rare interview with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that he was modest, quiet, and had sad eyes like someone carrying a debt to life. They married in 1948 before Hollywood knew the name Clint Walker. In the early years, the couple lived simply drifting across western states to make a living. When Walker joined the Merchant Marine, Verna wrote him letters for over a year. They once lived in a small apartment in Burbank when Walker began testing for roles at Warner Brothers. But when Cheyenne exploded on television, their marriage started to crack. According to journalist Harold McIntyre of the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, Clint came home less and less. Verna grew afraid of the flashbulbs, and all that remained between them were quiet conversations. The breaking point came in 1966 when Movie Mirror ran an item claiming he was close with a female colleague on the set of Fort Dobbs, an unverified story, but enough to leave Verna devastated. They officially divorced in 1968 at Los Angeles County Court after 20 years together. Their daughter Valerie had just turned 18. 2 years later, at a charity fundraiser in Beverly Hills, Walker met Giselle Hennessy, a French model who had worked for Elle magazine. Their relationship was seen as a fresh breeze in his life. Giselle was described as elegant, composed, and influential at society events. They married in 1974 in Santa Barbara in a small ceremony without media present. In the first years, Walker and Giselle were happy on a ranch in Grass Valley, California. But when Walker returned to the screen with The Dirty Dozen, The Deadly Mission. 1987, the press once again dug into his private life. A 1988 Star Weekly piece claimed Giselle was often absent from premieres, fueling public doubts about their relationship. Some crew sources said Walker became colder, quieter than before, while close friends recalled he seemed to carry a sorrow that had no name. On January 1, 1994, Giselle Hennessy passed away at home at age 63. The cause of death was never disclosed, and her funeral was held privately at St. Patrick's Church in Grass Valley. Valerie, in a 1998 interview with Inside Edition, said, "There were unusual things around Mrs. Giselle's passing. My father never explained everything, but I know it changed him forever." After the funeral, Walker withdrew from Hollywood, cut contact with many in the industry, and spent most of his time writing novels and tending to the trees around his home. 3 years later, in 1997, nearing 70, Walker met Susan Cavallari, a Wyoming woman working in jewelry. They met at a Cheyenne anniversary in Palm Springs and quickly grew close. Susan didn't care about his fame, something that made Walker believe he had found real peace. They married in a private ceremony attended by a few old friends, including Clint Eastwood and Roger Moore. Susan was by his side during his final years as he faced chronic heart failure. They lived quietly in Grass Valley until Walker passed away in 2018. Valerie once said Susan cared for my father to his last moment, but she also understood he never truly escaped the old memories. Curiously, throughout those 3 marriages, Clint Walker had only one child, Valerie. He was once rumored to have had a child with a supporting actress from Yellowstone, Kelly, but this was never verified. Valerie, his only child, chose a different path. She became the first female commercial pilot at Western Airlines, another emblem of strength and freedom, just like the father she adored, yet also wanted to step out from under. For years, the Hollywood press wrote about Walker as a man who couldn't keep happiness, but Valerie saw it differently. In a 2004 conversation with Rolling Stone, she said, "My father didn't lose his wives. They left because they couldn't bear the world he was forced to live in." Those 3 marriages were like 3 mirrors reflecting the hidden corners of Clint Walker, the star, the husband, and the lone traveler among the spotlights. After each parting, he drew further inward, quieter, as if fame had traded away everything most human in him. But that silence only made Hollywood more curious than ever. Because when a man is too perfect, too composed, too private, people start to ask, is he hiding something? From there, the strange rumors about Clint Walker's true self began to erupt, and they all revolved around the most sensitive subject identity and the mystery behind his flawless exterior. 6. Even when he was near the end, those people still wouldn't let him find peace. On May 21, 2018, Clint Walker passed away in his small home in Grass Valley, California. The press said he died peacefully in his sleep at 90. But to his daughter Valerie Walker, former pilot, and the only person at his side in those final days, it was not a purely natural passing. "My father likely died from the consequences of old injuries, including emotional ones," she told People magazine, "but also because of the actions of those who never left him alone. And I honestly cannot forgive that records at Sutter Medical Center leaked a few weeks later stated the cause of death as acute congestive heart failure stemming from heart damage due to the 1971 ski accident. At the time of his passing, Walker's heart functioned at only 54% capacity. His lungs retained fluid, and heart tissue had hardened around the metal sutures from more than 4 decades before. Dr. Harold Reynolds, who treated him, told the Sacramento Bee. His heart was repaired with 3 steel stitches in 1971. They held for nearly half a century, but the muscle around them had died. It was like an engine with no piston. From 2015 on, Walker's health declined markedly. He was hospitalized frequently for low blood pressure and swelling in his limbs. Doctors recommended a pacemaker, but he refused. In a rare interview with journalist Lisa Calvert of the Grass Valley Telegraph, he gave a wry smile. "I've lived long enough with a stitched heart. I don't want it drilled again, thank you." Even so, Walker continued to appear at fan events. In April 2018, he attended the 50th anniversary celebration of the Dirty Dozen in Burbank. Images of his trembling hands as he signed autographs spread across social media. Few knew he had taken 7 different cardiac medications that day just to keep his breath steady. One attendee recalled, "He smiled the whole time, but his hands shook and his lips were pale." Just a month later, he passed away. According to the coroner's report, his heart stopped at 11:58 p.m. But what shocked many was that 45 minutes later, Deadline Hollywood posted Clint Walker dies at 90, citing a source inside Warner Brothers Television. The question was obvious. How did the studio know? Before the hospital and family, Valerie recalled that while she was on her way to the hospital, a Variety reporter texted asking about her father's heart-related complications. "I felt a chill," she said. How did they know the cause of death when the doctor hadn't even signed the documents? By July 2018, the Sacramento Bee reported that Walker's original medical records at Sutter Medical Center had gone missing without explanation. An anonymous nurse confirmed all of his cardiac data vanished from the electronic system. "We've never seen anything like it." The events stirred public outrage. Investigative journalist Eli Kramer of the Los Angeles Daily Press wrote, "It's hard to ignore that every major detail about Clint Walker, from illness to accident to passing, was relayed by a Warner source, a studio that hadn't been tied to him for half a century." Theories quickly spread. Some believed Warner Brothers never forgave Walker, who cost them millions after the 1959 work stoppage and legal fight. They argued that the 1971 ski accident, the 1960s rumors about his personal life, and even the quiet tone of his final years were all part of a long arc of reprisal. Critic Matthew Callahan of Hollywood Rewind wrote, "Clint Walker was one of the few who dared to stand up to Hollywood. And Hollywood, as we know, does not easily forgive those who won't bow." According to Valerie, her father struggled with depression for many years. He avoided social circles, keeping in touch only with a few loved ones, including Roger Moore, the friend once pulled into old rumors. He always believed in fairness, Valerie said, and that belief is what hurt him most, because Hollywood is rarely fair to those who refuse to submit. On May 25, 2018, his funeral was held privately at St. Patrick's Church in Grass Valley, with only a few dozen family members and old friends attending. On the casket, Valerie placed a photo of her father beaming in 1971, right after surviving the Through the Heart incident. "Maybe this time he finally found peace," she told People softly. "But I know that passing was not simple." And that is the story behind America's so-called perfect image of masculinity. A Western hero who survived a brush with death yet could not escape the injuries left by Hollywood itself. Clint Walker left with a heart that had stopped twice, but the mysteries around him still send chills through the world. What about you? What do you think of Valerie Walker's revelations? Was the 1971 snow accident truly an accident, or a warning from one of Hollywood's most powerful empires? Leave a comment below, and we'll continue the discussion in the next part. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the upcoming video.